Zoom check.
Webinar started.
Good morning. Welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchise. Please silence all cell phone electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms. Moving forward, no one is to approach the dais. Chair, we're ready to begin.
Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. Unfortunately, Chair Lewis is unable to attend today's meeting. I am Councilmember Thomas Henry, and I will serve as acting chair for the subcommittee today. This morning, I am joined by Minority Leader Councilmember Carr, Deputy Whip Encarnacion, Councilmember Farias, Councilmember Schulman, Councilmember Salam, and online, Councilmember Justin Sanchez, as well as in person, Councilmember Aldebal. And Councilmember Wilson. Today we are voting on 3 proposals and holding 4 hearings. The 3 proposals we will first vote on consist of 4703 108th Street, mixed-use residential rezoning in my district, 200 Kent Avenue, mixed-use residential rezoning in Councilmember Ressler's district, and the Flatiron Nomad major concession application regarding portions of Broadway and Fifth Avenue in Councilmember Wilson and Epstein's districts. We will then hold the hearings on the following proposals: 815 Hutchinson River Parkway rezoning in Councilmember Aldebal's district, 862 through 868 Kent Avenue rezoning in Councilmember Ressler's district, 158-06 Northern Boulevard rezoning in Councilmember Ung's district, and 132 Melrose Street rezoning in Councilmember Gutierrez's district. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council website at www.council.nyc.gov/land-use. To sign up, or for those of you in person, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to prepare and submit a speaker card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting on the council's website. When you are called to testify before the subcommittee, if you are joining us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony that you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony that you would like to submit instead of appearing in person, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Written testimony may be submitted up to 3 days after the hearing is closed. Please indicate the LU number and/or project name in the subject line of your email. We request that witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by the chair, as council members may have questions. Lastly, for anyone attending today's meeting, this is a government proceeding and decorum must be observed at all times. Members of the public are asked not to speak during the meeting unless you are testifying. The witness table is reserved for people who are called to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. We will now proceed with the 3 votes. And I would also like to add that we have been joined by Councilmember Ressler. The first vote concerns LUs 118 and 119 regarding 4703 108th Street rezoning proposal in my district. The applicant is seeking to develop a mixed-use residential development in Corona, Queens, that would have approximately 119 apartments, of which approximately 30 would be permanently affordable. The proposal involves two actions. The first is a zoning map amendment to change the existing residential R6B district to a residential R7X district with a C24 commercial overlay. The second action is a zoning text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary housing area and level of affordability, which would be limited to MIH option 1. We are recommending that the project area be rezoned to R7D rather than an R7X district, given that the surrounding area consists predominantly of 2- and 3-story buildings. I support this application as modified, and we will move on to the next. The second vote concerned LUs 115 and 116 regarding 200 Kent Avenue, mixed-use residential rezoning proposal in Councilmember Ressler's district. Applicant is seeking to enlarge and convert an existing commercial building into a mixed-use residential development in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The proposed redevelopment would have approximately 143 apartments, of which approximately 36 would be permanently affordable. The proposal involves two actions. The first is a zoning map amendment to change the existing manufacturing M14 district to a mixed-use district consisting of a paired M14 district with a residential R7X district. The second action is a zoning text amendment to map a mandatory inclusionary housing area. We are recommending one modification to remove MIH option 2, which will require the affordable apartments are provided at an average of 60% AMI. Councilmember Ressler supports this application as modified. I will now turn it over to the council member for a statement.
Thank you so much, Chair. It's good to see you in the seat. I just wanted to express gratitude to the development team at 200 Kent, the developers and their representatives were like really great partners through this process. This is an existing building. Many of you may know it. We have a Trader Joe's there on the basement level of a 5-story building on Kent Avenue that was zoned just for commercial use. And you know, this is really an area where we have lots of residential development, and allowing for residential development above the dynamic supermarket and existing commercial space is I think, a very positive thing for our neighborhood. There will be still more commercial space, multiple stories of it, so hopefully we can maintain and sustain the office space that's there, and then build a mixture of market rate and affordable housing above. I'm really pleased by this project. The development team is working closely with my office on the bid formation effort that we have on the north side to help improve street cleanliness and quality of life in our, across our commercial corridors and our park spaces and our open streets. And I'm really grateful for their partnership in that endeavor. So this is, I think, a very sensible project, and I'm really pleased to support it, and hope my colleagues will do the same. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Council Member. The third and final vote concerns LU 117 regarding the Flatiron Nomad Major Concession application for portions of Broadway and Fifth Avenue in Councilmember Wilson's and Epstein's districts. Over the past few years, there have been temporary initiatives to re-envision this corridor between 19th Street and West 31st Street to create a more engaging and safer public realm for pedestrians and cyclists. This application would expand the existing Flatiron District concession area to approximately 162,345 square feet of concession area. The expanded area would be managed by the Flatiron Nomad Partnership. Council members Wilson and Epstein support this application. I will now turn it over to Councilmember Wilson for remarks.
Thank you, Chair. It is a major day to vote on a major concession. Since its genesis 20 years ago, the Flatiron Nomad Partnership has been an excellent steward of the area, now extending from Flatiron to all of Nomad and 20th Street and 6th Avenue. The Broadway corridor, one of the most highly trafficked areas of the city, grew exponentially in a post-pandemic world as demand for outdoor dining, public space activation, and pedestrianized streets amplified, and Flatiron Nomad met and exceeded the expectations of what it could do for the neighborhood. It is my hope that this committee and then tomorrow the whole council will vote a resounding yes on this major concession agreement. This agreement will significantly expand the ways the bid can generate revenue that will lead to more beautiful public spaces, expanded cleaning services for the district, and additional smart compost bins. It also unlocks the future potential for the installation of public bathrooms and water fountains. I'm eager to see the ways this agreement transforms the neighborhood for the better. I want to first thank my colleague, Councilmember Harvey Epstein, and for his partnership and for taking the lead on getting this process started while the council seat was vacant. And thank you to the bid for all they do to keep our communities beautiful, safe, and prosperous. And a big thank you to DOT and DSNY for their collaboration and willingness to think constructively about how we can maximize our ability to invest in public spaces. And a big thank you to the council land use team, Omar, Chelsea, Arthur, and Dana, especially Dana, for supporting this effort, and to my Chief of Staff, Hannah Moses, and Legislative and Budget Director, Jacob Bloomfield, for their hard work on this since day one. It's my hope that the partnership can continue its work by preserving and beautifying the landscape along Broadway and beyond, and that we can have a meaningful, and that we can be a meaningful companion in that endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Council, are there any council members with questions or remarks at this time?
No, Chair.
Okay. Members appearing remotely who have questions or remarks about today's items should use the raise hand button now. Seeing none, I will now call for a vote to approve LU's 117 related to the Flatiron Nomad Major Concession Application, to approve with modifications LU's 115 and 116 related to the 200 Kent Avenue rezoning proposal, and LU's 118 and 119 related to the 4703 108th Street rezoning proposal. Council, please call the roll.
Acting Chair Thomas Henry,
Aye.
Councilmember Farias,
I vote aye on all and would like to congratulate my colleagues on two really great projects, especially for Councilmember Wilson, as this being your first project that's revenue generation for the city of New York. We appreciate it.
Councilmember Shulman,
Aye on all.
Councilmember Salam,
Vote aye on all.
Minority Whip Encarnacion, Deputy Minority Whip.
Deputy Whip.
Gracias.
It's okay. I vote aye on all.
Majority, yes, I'm okay. Let's start that one over. Deputy Majority Whip. My apologies. Councilmember Sanchez, are you online?
Yes, I am all.
Thank you. And Minority Leader Carr.
Overjoyed that my delegation is now 6 again. I vote aye on all.
By a vote of 7 in the affirmative, 0 opposing, and 0 abstentions, the items are approved as described by the chair, and these items are now referred to the full Land Use Committee. Thank you, members. We will now move on to the hearings that are scheduled for today. Beginning with the public hearing on pre-considered LU regarding 1815 Hutchinson River Parkway, a commercial rezoning proposal in the Ferry Point neighborhood of the Bronx in Councilmember Aldeball's district. The proposal seeks to change an existing manufacturing district to a commercial district to allow large retail establishments of 10,000 square feet and larger at an existing commercial center. Although there is a target that is larger than 10,000 square feet at the site, it is located below grade, and the shops at the street level are limited to stores smaller than 10,000 square feet. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants at arms to submit a speaker card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I now recognize Councilmember Alderball for remarks.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. First, I just want to say that I'm pleased that the proposed zoning change will not add additional height or changes to the footprint and makeup of the shopping center, and rather it will create and expand the commercial usage of the facility, which will encourage further commercial activity in the district, including a possible supermarket, food center. I do want to acknowledge that some of the concerns that my offices and the community boards had with regarding possible increase in vehicular traffic, and in particular, concern about the existing entrance, one of the existing entrances to the mall, which is on the Hutchinson Parkway extension and entrance to the Whitestone, proximate to the entrance of the Whitestone Bridge. And additionally, the impact on traffic on this site with the construction of Bally's Hotel and Casino, and other, there are a number of public institutions, a high school, a charter school, school for the deaf, the cemetery, also next door, and an industrial area that surrounds this particular mall, which has historically created traffic issues in the area. I hope that we can continue the conversation after this. I fully support the rezoning, but want to continue the conversation to make sure that that there could be changes to mitigate the concerns of the surrounding area. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Justin Jarbo. Joining him online are Jeff Klein and Michelle Dugo. Council, could you please administer the oath?
Good morning.
Morning.
Could you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Justin Jarbo.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony today and in response to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may now begin your testimony, which is limited to 10 minutes, and you should start to conclude your presentation after 8 minutes. When you begin your presentation, please restate your name and organization.
Got it. Good morning, members of the subcommittee and Councilmember Audible. My name is Justin Jarbo of Roth-Krug Inspector. I'm here today on behalf of MD Hutch Owner, LLC, the owner of the existing Throggs Shopping Center at 815 Hutchinson River Parkway in Bronx Community District 10. Joining us remotely are Adam Roth-Krug, zoning counsel for the applicant, and former state senator Jeffrey Klein, along with his associate Michelle Dalgau. Possibly also present on behalf of ownership are Danielle Cantillo and Aaron Molensky. Next slide, please. So we are here in connection with the zoning map amendment that would change the zoning of a single block on which the shopping center sits, bounded by Lafayette Avenue to the north, Brush Avenue to the west, and Winter Place to the south, and the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road to the east from M12 to C83. The application is sought primarily to expand the range of permitted commercial uses, including the ability to locate a supermarket in excess of 10,000 square feet to serve as an anchor tenant for the upper floor of the shopping center. This proposal is not sought for an increase in permitted density, and no vertical enlargement is sought. The bulk, height, yard, and setback regulations of the proposed C83 district are generally the same as those in the M12 district. What we're asking for is that the zoning recognize the commercial character of the shopping center as opposed to a manufacturing use, which restricts certain commercial uses above 10,000 square feet. Next slide, please. In terms of the location of the site, the block to the north is the campus of Bronx Catholic School and Monsignor Scanlon High School. Further north is a Home Depot. The area to the south of Wenner Place contains single-family homes interspersed with smaller commercial establishments. And then further south along Westchester Creek is a series of single-story warehouses. To the east, across the Hutchinson River Parkway, is St. Raymond Cemetery, and of course to the west is Westchester Creek. The site sits just south of the Bruckner interchange, where the Cross Bronx and the Bruckner Expressways meet, and immediately north of the Whitestone Bridge. It is a regional retail location fronting a limited access parkway and has functioned as one since the center opened in 2013. Next slide, please. This slide shows the location of the underlying M12 zoning district against Westchester Creek and the residential districts that surround it. Dating back to 61, the applicable provisions of the zoning resolution have prohibited certain retail uses in excess of 10,000 square feet in M1 districts. The 1961 regulations, which remain in effect today, allow toy, hardware, drug, book, office supply stores of any size, while food, furniture, clothing, department stores, variety, and floor covering and appliance stores are limited to 10,000 square feet. The nature of retail development has also changed dramatically since 1961, while the restriction has not. COVID in particular changed retail habits, with online shopping reducing foot traffic for certain retailers. Recognizing the importance of flexibility for a shopping center. Importantly, retailers like grocery stores remain quite active, as most shopping is still preferred in person and can serve as an active tenant to bring foot traffic to a larger shopping center, which in turn supports the adjacent businesses. However, based on the current M1 zoning, a supermarket cannot be located within the center today, a use that has repeatedly indicated is needed and would be very desirable for this location. As a matter of background, this block was zoned M12 at the inception of the 1961 zoning resolution, when the area was more industrial in character, with warehouses lining Westchester Creek. It subsequently sat vacant until it was improved with a shopping center in 2013. And given the size of the shopping center, there is no plan or reasonable expectation that the property will be used for manufacturing use. Next slide, please. Sorry, here we show the existing M12 and the proposed C83 district, as well as the boundary of the rezoning area, which is coterminous with the shopping center parcel. We're not proposing to rezone any property we do not own, and no other lots are affected. The C8 district is intended as a bridge between commercial and manufacturing uses, where large amounts of land are typically required, which describes this nearly 8-acre site. The change to C83 would appropriately allow a wider array of a wider variety of stores in excess of 10,000 square feet, including a supermarket. If you could skip ahead to slide 9, please. So these photographs show the existing conditions along each frontage: Lafayette Avenue, Brush Avenue, Wenner Place, and the Hutchinson River Parkway Service Road. The site contains about 410,000 square feet of development, of which only about 100,000 is actually zoning floor area, so it has the floor area of 0.28. The building rises to a maximum height of 37 feet, and it provides about 875 parking spaces, 606 of which are located on the rooftop or the upper floor of the structure, and about 10 loading berths. Current tenants include a Target as the anchor tenant on the lower floor, which is located below grade and, as a quirk in the zoning, does not count as zoning floor area and is therefore permitted as of right. The upper floor is developed with a TJ Maxx, a Petco, an Applebee's, a Chipotle, Five Guys, a Starbucks, and several smaller retail outlets, as well as a location for the New York Blood Center. If you could go to slide 12, please. So this is an illustrative depiction of the development that would take place to facilitate a new grocery store, which would be located on the upper floor. It would involve about 10,000 square foot addition on that floor to accommodate a 30,000 square foot grocery store, and would involve about a reduction of 49 parking spaces. However, there's about 800 parking spaces that would remain and would be sufficient to accommodate parking at the shopping center. I will note that no grocery store operator is identified at this time, as a specific store will not sign a lease and undertake the large capital investment until the zoning is in place. I'll also note that no specific store is being replaced or displaced at this time. When the application commenced, there was a larger Party City store that had gone out of business, and that space was identified as a likely location for a supermarket. However, because of the length of the application, during that time, that space was leased with the New York Blood Center. So if and when this application is approved, ownership will explore a location within the center for a supermarket, which is most likely the area shown in red on these plans. In regards to traffic, if you could go to back to slide 3. Yeah, it's the aerial. It's the next slide, please. Great, thanks. Before I close, I want to address Winter Place because traffic has been a concern along that roadway. Neighbors on Winter Place have experienced the use of their street by commercial traffic leaving the center and heading to Brush Avenue due to a mandatory right turn out of Lafayette Avenue. So we took that concern seriously and engaged in discussions with the Department of Transportation and retained an engineering firm to prepare plans showing the creation of a new left turn out of Lafayette Avenue across an existing traffic island, thereby redirecting traffic away from Winter Place. However, upon meeting with Bronx DOT, we were advised that a cut-through along Lafayette would not be possible because of a proposed safety plan that includes a new bike lane along Lafayette Avenue, which has not yet been finalized. In the event that plan is not implemented, we're happy to revisit the creation of a cut-through, and in the meantime, ownership will continue to notify its tenants to direct their suppliers away from Winter and remains open to discussing how to address any ongoing traffic problems. I should note that based on the extensive traffic studies performed as a part of this application in the EAS, and given the absence of a substantial increase in square footage, the addition of a supermarket is not projected to have a noticeable impact on Winter Place in terms of new traffic. I'll also mention, as you mentioned before, Community Board 10 overall voted in favor of the application, and the Bronx Borough President also recommended approval. So I think that concludes our presentation, and our larger team is available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I just have one question about this proposal before I turn it over to Councilmember Aldeball. So you mentioned the grocery store, which would be approximately 29,500 square feet, but you haven't identified a grocer yet. So I'm just curious why the applicant is seeking the rezoning now without a...
Because a grocery store will never sign a lease until we have the zoning in place.
Okay.
So once we have the zoning in place, then we can identify a tenant.
Okay. And then are there other retailers that are currently there now interested in creating a larger footprint at the store's site?
Not to my knowledge. Perhaps someone from ownership who is online could also answer that.
Hi.
And be it existing or other potential tenants that would be interested in a larger footprint?
As of now, we haven't spoken with any tenants who would like a larger footprint. As he stated in his presentation, we did have interest from a supermarket for taking over the Party City space. We've been going through the zoning process for several years now. So over the course of the many years that this has gone by, we have filled that space. But so there has been conversation with supermarkets, but no other tenants for that size space, no.
Thank you. I will now recognize Councilmember Aldeball for questions.
Yeah, I do want to press you a little bit on potential tenants, because I assume you've had discussions with potential supermarket chains, and who have you been having discussions with? And I have to say that it's in the district's interest to have retailers, supermarkets that are gonna create good jobs, and that any development that occurs in the district create good jobs. So just wondering what retailers have you had discussions with, supermarket retailers have you had discussions with?
So I think someone from
And I'm
owner-
sorry, just before you jump in, whoever just spoke online, could you, and whoever's about to, I think, respond to this question, could you please state your name?
I'm
before-
sorry. My name is Danielle Contillo. I'm one of the owners of the shopping center.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, Aaron Malinsky, who's one of my partners, is the person in conversation with the supermarkets. So he is not on today, I don't believe. So I am not able to tell you who he's currently speaking to for the space.
So we can follow.
Hi.
up on
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Hello?
And yes, this is Adam Rothkrug, counsel. So at some of the other hearings that we've had before the community board and other conversations, though, Mr. Malinsky has indicated interest on a wide variety of over the years of different supermarkets at all different kind of levels. But we've heard the council person and her concern with regard to the types of jobs that will be created. So we will definitely keep that in mind moving forward when we start kind of seeing if there are concrete interests. But the community was excited to have a potential supermarket at this location, and there definitely is interest on some of the more active supermarket chains.
And so the blood center, everything on that side of the mall are going to remain there. Is that correct?
Yes, any supermarket, we're not looking to obviously lose any existing tenants. As we said, that this issue became at the forefront before the blood center took over the Party City space, and then we realized that you really need to plan in the future. So, any new supermarket or expansion to accommodate additional floor area would involve potentially relocating other tenants within the center, and again, waiting until there was a suitable space available.
Mm-hmm. And with respect to the entrance to the mall on the, Hutchinson River Parkway side that leads to the Whitestone Bridge, that's a problematic entrance. And if you have more traffic flow, Lafayette Avenue gets clogged whenever there's a problem on the Whitestone Bridge. And it's taken me sometimes 45 minutes to get from East Tremont down Lafayette Avenue to get to the mall, which should be like a 5-minute drive. So that's a huge concern for people who are commuting from the school, taking the bus into Queens. There's a lot going on there. And then adding, Bally's Casino, doing construction there. You also have the PepsiCo trucks coming in and out. So it's a little concerning to me that there's an entrance there to the mall that obstructs the traffic even further. And, it's not just about traffic as being a nuisance, but, fire trucks, ambulances, emergency vehicles cannot get through there. So do you have plans to mitigate that situation?
So a couple things. One is, as you know, there is a difference in grade on the site. So we can't get cars to the upper level from Brush Avenue because there's a significant difference in grade. So uh, as indicated, we have been meeting and did meet with the DOT. We were trying to open up some better circulation along Lafayette Avenue. And we were actually surprised to hear about their bike lane proposed there because the community had previously indicated opposition, I believe, to that plan. So that has not been finalized. It hasn't even been presented to the community yet. So, hopefully with Bally's coming and with these concerns, hopefully we may be able to work with DOT to come up with, a better solution, potentially, again, increasing the use of Lafayette Avenue as opposed to the traffic coming from the service road.
Yeah, Adam, if I can just also chime in, Jeff Klein, I represent Simone Development. Council member, yes, we were all prepared and hired an engineer that actually did a traffic study and actually did a traffic remediation plan along Lafayette. We were surprised because we were moving ahead with it because the previous administration backed away from the bike lane proposed on Lafayette. So we were good to go on that remediation project. Actually, a week before we presented to Community Board 10, I was in touch with Bronx DOT, and that's when they told us they can no longer work on our plan because it would interfere with the proposed bike lane. So if that project falls by the wayside like it did in the past, we're still open to do traffic remediation on Lafayette.
Okay. Yep, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Councilmember Farias for questions.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Aldable, for her questions. And just to kind of piggyback off of some of those, and I don't remember from when Party City was open, and even from the blood center, I recently gave blood there. Is there an elevator that goes down that can bring people down to the bottom parking lot, or is that solely for the use of Target? Like, is Target the only location on the campus that has an elevator going down to the downstairs parking lot?
So it is a separate condo, and Target owns their level.
Okay, got it. I guess I asked that question just in the same respect to how to facilitate better traffic movement in that area. I don't know in the construction if there's a possibility there, if there's another way to bring people through. I think many of us would like to see, those that go to that mall would like to see a throughway on the Lafayette side. And so happy to support whatever conversations for the council member, as well as someone that borders that district. And I know plenty of my neighbors and residents shop at that mall. But additionally to that, it would be interesting to hear from you folks as through construction, what other areas you could have that can reach the bottom parking lot, especially if we're bringing in a commercial space like a supermarket. In my mall, my outdoor mall shops at Bruckner Plaza, our Aldi's has an up and down. You can go to the parking lot upstairs or downstairs, and that helps facilitate traffic and how people get to access the market itself. So just throwing that out there in case there's ways that we can maneuver around. I know there's several exits, but it all leads to the one pathway where we have to all loop around the entire edifice to get back onto the roadway by Home Depot and the Target entrance. And again, I think I want to also reiterate there's a bunch of good partners, yourself, the Bally's folks, PepsiCo, that I think all are in that area that can maybe all convene and figure out a way to help put some local investment or some ideas together to help make the traffic in that area better. It is one of the main traffic ways to get onto the Throgs Neck Bridge, and we know how busy that bridge is. It causes a lot of traffic along with the folks that are attending the mall. So however I can be helpful there, please loop me in. But I just think, just to support Councilmember Aldabal's efforts here, it is a highly utilized space, and we obviously would like to see as many businesses that can bring resources to the district as possible, but also not completely forget the fact the main issue there, which is the flow of traffic and how we will be getting more people into that area, especially if we're creating a different resource in this space by bringing in a supermarket.
Thank you, and we obviously appreciate your offer to support. Again, we thought the cut through on Lafayette was a really good potential solution, and we still think that may be a possibility. And as indicated, a lot of the time spent on this application was examining potential traffic impacts and then along with the Bally's project, looking at their traffic as well. But the end result with regard to our development was that even the addition of the supermarket would not significantly increase the amount of traffic to the site. So, yeah, we would like to address it as well because it's important to our customers and our tenants there. But again, due to again some of the limitations due to the geography and the changing grade, the Lafayette Avenue solution seemed to be hopefully the most viable. And again, we're hopeful because the safety plan or bike plan has not gone through yet that maybe DOT will reconsider, and obviously your help along with Councilman Aldeball would actually obviously be helpful.
Sure. And just to utilize my last 35 seconds, oh, I lost my question. It's disappeared from my brain. Okay, if it comes to me, I'll follow up with you folks. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Council, are there? Oh, you do?
I'm sorry. I
Okay,
just wanted
right
to know.
back.
Apologies, Chair. Thank you. Just wanted to know, have there been any conversations? I know Target, since it is on the main floor and also has a supermarket within its facility, is there any concern about bringing in a retailer that might have competition there between the two? Or is that something that you folks are not worried about in bringing a potential new supermarket retailer in? Thank you for entertaining my question as I lost it and it came back to me.
Sure. So as indicated, Target actually owns their own space as a condominium. So again, there's still been over the years substantial interest by a variety of supermarket chains. And as indicated, as far as the rest of the stores, it really is important to have an anchor for the upstairs to draw in that traffic due to changes in the retail environment.
All right, thank you. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this proposal?
No, Chair, we don't have anybody signed up at this time in person or online.
Okay, I will say if there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this proposal remotely, please press the raise hand button now. Or if you are in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeants. Okay. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding pre-considered LU related to the 815 Hutchinson Parkway commercial rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. I will now open the second hearing on pre-considered LUs regarding 862 and 868 Kent Avenue, a residential rezoning proposal in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn in Councilmember Ressler's district. The applicant is seeking to develop mixed-use residential building that would have approximately 74 apartments. Mandatory inclusionary housing would be mapped as part of this application, which would require approximately 19 of the apartments to be permanently affordable. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land-use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeant-at-arms to submit a speaker card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now turn it over to Councilmember Wrestler for remarks.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm getting used to this. I don't know about all that. I was saying that this is a small one, but our district, just for your awareness, Chair, has shrank the most in redistricting this last time around by I think 18%, because we have seen the most development in our district of any in the city. I failed in my previous comments to recognize my colleague Hannah, who really guided the 200 Kent project along, and it was her idea to really bring the development team in to the bid formation process, and I think there was just really helpful and smart suggestions on her part. So I just wanted to thank her for her hard work in helping to get that project done and so smartly. This is a good project as well. It's a I always love when the development team lives in the neighborhood. And in this instance, one of the two developers doesn't just live in the neighborhood, lives down the block. And so the project that's being built here is really for the community that lives here, that works here, that spends time here. And the commitments around community facility space are impressive. The developer has already, I think, dramatically changed the planned unit size breakdown of the project. So we're going to see a lot of 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, even 4-bedroom units in this project. It's not too many projects where we see a majority of the units are multiple bedroom units, but that's what we have here. I'm really excited about the shul, the mikveh, the community facilities. They're going to meet the needs of the whole neighborhood. And so I think this is a very positive project, and happy for the development team to share more insights.
Thank you, Councilmember. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Eric Palachnik, and joining online is Saul Fetter. Council, could you please administer the oath?
Good morning. Could you please raise your right hand and state the name for the record?
Eric Palatnik.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony this
I
morning
do.
and in response to council member questions?
I
Both
do.
parts?
I do. I apologize.
Thank you. You may now begin your testimony, which is limited to 10 minutes, and you should start to conclude your presentation after 8 minutes. When you begin your presentation, please restate your name and organization.
Sure. My name is Eric Palatnik. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and Saul Federer, the owner of the developer, is on the line as well for any questions. I'll be rather brief on this because we've had a great communication going on with the council member and the community board and the borough president. Everybody has been supportive of the application. If you go to the next page, I'll just run through the project very briefly for you. The right-hand side of the screen tells you what we're doing. We're proposing a rezoning to, it will be an R6A, an M14/R6A, an MX district. It's consistent with the R7A district that is just adjacent to it. It will produce 2 buildings. Building A will be 9 stories tall. That will have 50,000 square feet of floor area. Building B will be 6 stories tall. That'll have 13,000 square feet of floor area. Overall, the entire development will have 74 total dwelling units, 18 permanently affordable. As the council member mentioned, it will include 35 2-bedrooms, 7 3-bedrooms, 4 4-bedrooms, 23 1-bedrooms, and 5 studios. So it's rather heavy on the multiple bedroom scenario. And we are proposing to include a synagogue at the cellar level of Building A. I will stop my testimony there because I don't know if any further speaking is necessary, but you let me know if it is.
Well, if Wrestler says it's not necessary, I guess it's not necessary. I do have 2 quick questions, and I'll turn it over to my colleague. Can you explain why the proposed rezoning area excludes the one property along Taft Place?
You can go to the zoning map, please. The zoning map change. That's page 1, 2, 3, page 3. I'm not quite sure which properties you're speaking of. This shows you the zoning map change, so I'm not sure which property is being left out that you're referring to. It extends all the way from the rear of the properties at Front Myrtle Avenue for a distance of 240 feet down Taffy and Kent.
Is the entire redezoning area on that being redeveloped?
No, there's only 2 properties being redeveloped within that rezoning district.
Okay. Okay, and so why not so it's 2 of the 3?
Yes, it's two of the. It's if whoever's controlling the screen, go to slide 2, please. So slide 2 at the bottom in the middle, if you can make that out there, you can see in blue, those are the 2 sites that are being rezoned. The area surrounded by the dots is the entire rezoning area. So not all of the properties in the rezoning area are proposed to be redeveloped at this time.
Gotcha. And how would the bulk of the proposed building compare to the neighboring school?
Oh, that's easy. If whoever's controlling the screen can go to slide 5. The neighboring school is analogous in height to what we're proposing. If they go to slide page 5 of the slide, there you go.
Okay.
You can see there the school is on the right-hand side of the green box. The school rests at a height of about 87 feet. We're proposed to be at 90 feet, so we're very similar.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ressler.
Great. Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for the clear and brief presentation. I had a couple things I wanted to ask about. There's been change in ownership in this process, and we've been discussing this site for a number of years now. I should say on the record, and the chair will enjoy this, that Councilmember Gutierrez had her baby shower party at this location 5 years ago, maybe even longer, before we were in the city council. It was a great time. So we're going to miss Lights Out, but I did want to check. There are 2 businesses at this location. One is Lights Out, which, again, Councilmember Gutierrez in particular will miss, but so will all of us. Where is Lights Out going, and the confectionery business, what's their status and where are they relocating?
The confectionery business is gone already. They've relocating to New Jersey. Lights Out is going to 73 Kent Street, which until I heard that, I did not know that there was a Kent Street in addition to a Kent Avenue, so I learned something.
You should come to Greenpoint more often. It's still in the district. Okay, so they're going to be in Greenpoint. They're okay. And the business that's relocating to New Jersey, they employ a healthy number of people, so they're in a good position. If we call that business, they're going to say they're very happy and that everything's okay.
Yes, and Mr. Federer is on the line right now. If you wanted to speak to him
Yeah,
about it, he's
Mr.
been in
Federer, have
direct
you been in touch
contact.
with that business owner? Is he from Lakewood, or where's he from?
Yeah, he's from Lakewood, and we actually helped him facilitate the move. You know, they invested a lot of money in the production. It used to be a bakery,
right?
And we helped them a lot with the moving expenses and reproducing all the machinery on that new location.
Okay, so they're happy.
Yes.
Good. I appreciate it, Mr. Federer. That was something I'd been concerned about for a number of years, so I'm very pleased that that was addressed. And I did want to ask, so the plan is currently for both a shul and a mikvah on site. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think the other thing I just wanted to check in on is, are you open if we decide to do MIH option 1? Is that something you're comfortable with?
One versus the other 2 options?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, just before you continue, can you just please restate your name for record so that we all know who you are?
Sure. I'm sorry. My name is Solomon Feder.
Thank you.
We were looking more to do all 3 options, not because we are planning to go as high as the options. It's more for, banks, what the banks would like to see. But, in this neighborhood, we have other buildings that we charge even below the MIH, which is, it's interesting for the city, for a developer in the city, but that's what we try to do. We have 3 buildings in the neighborhood that we still have 1 bedrooms at the low 2000s.
Well, I understand. Mr. Federer, I think that in every single rezoning I've approved, I've insisted on option 1. So I'm not sure that I'm prepared to break precedent, because then the next guy who comes along might think that they can bully me. That was a joke. But thank you for laughing, William. William was the only one who laughed. But I have to say, Mr. Federer, you have a sterling reputation in the community. Many community leaders have gone out of their way to say to me that what you're doing here is really for neighbors and for people in need, and that you do everything you can to help vulnerable and people in Williamsburg, people who need help, and that's really the spirit of this development. And so that's why I'm as supportive as I am. So we'll continue the conversation on MIH. We'll continue the conversation if there's anything else that we can do to benefit the neighborhood as this proceeds. But broadly, I think this is a very positive thing, and I'm really happy that you've already identified good solutions for the local businesses on site, and that you're really meeting the needs of our community with new affordable housing, with larger units, with important community facility space, in this project. So I really just want to thank you for taking this on, and look forward to working together.
Sure. Thank you for your kind words. I just want to make the council aware that the reason why we are doing this project is just because we have a synagogue right around the corner on Taffy Place, and basically all the neighbors from the neighborhood, the synagogue has basically grown out of place. We literally have 0 seats available, and the reason why we're doing this development is because of the synagogue.
And
we're going to build
as a benefit, we get a lot of housing, and so those are
Exactly.
those are two
Exactly.
good things, and a mikvah. So with that,
Yes.
thank you very much, and thank you, Chair, for the latitude.
No problem. Thank you. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this proposal?
No, Chair. At this time, we have no one signed up online or in person.
Got it. So if there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this proposal remotely, please press the raise hand button now, or if you are in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeants. Okay. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding preconsidered LUs relating to the 862 and 868 Kent Avenue residential mixed-use rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. I will now open the third hearing on preconsidered LUs regarding 15806 Northern Boulevard, a residential rezoning proposal in Flushing, Queens, in Councilmember Ung's district. The applicant is seeking to develop a mixed-use residential building that would have approximately 76 apartments. Mandatory inclusionary housing would be mapped as part of this application, which would require approximately 19 of the apartments to be permanently affordable. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone who with us in person, please see one of the sergeant-at-arms to submit a speaker card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Frank St. Jacques and Andrew Esposito.
Could you please raise your right hand? Thank you. And state your name for the record.
Frank St. Jacques, Ackerman LLP.
Andrew Esposito with the applicant.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony this morning in response to council member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may now begin your testimony, which is limited to 10 minutes, and you should start to conclude your presentation after 8 minutes. When you begin your presentation, please restate your name and organization.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas Henry. Again, my name is Frank St. Jacques. I'm with Ackerman LLP. I'm joined by the applicant, Andrew Esposito, and some members of the community. Next slide, please. We are here to present a transit-oriented rezoning on Northern Boulevard to facilitate a new development of a 10-story mixed-use building with 73 apartments, 19 of which would be permanently affordable under MIH Option 1. Next slide, please. This zoning map shows that the rezoning area is located in the Murray Hill neighborhood of Queens Community District 7 on the south side of Northern Boulevard between 158th Street and 159th Street. It's currently zoned R5B C12 along Northern Boulevard and R2 on the southern portion of the block. The area is within the outer transit zone. And you can see, as indicated on the zoning map on the left-hand side of the screen, along Northern Boulevard, there's been several medium density R6 and R7 districts mapped beginning in 1961 through as recently as spring of 2026 with the R7X 147-14 Northern Boulevard, about 9 blocks to the west. I'll also note that there's a large R12A zoning district mapped on the northern side of north of Northern Boulevard, which was created in 2009 in the North Flushing rezoning to protect the interior blocks and was distinguished from Northern Boulevard as it's mapped about 100 feet from Northern Boulevard. Next slide, please. This land use map shows that along Northern Boulevard is mostly commercial, which is shaded in red, and residential, shown in yellow along the mid-blocks. There are also several local community facility uses shaded in blue. Northern Boulevard is a major east-west corridor through Queens at 100 feet wide. To the south, the combined width of Depot Road, the Long Island Railroad right-of-way, and Station Road is approximately 130 feet, creating a wide street condition on the southern edge of the block where the rezoning area is located. The area is transit-oriented with bus and Long Island Railroad access connecting to subway and mass transit systems. Next slide, please. If we could just go one more slide. Thank you. The rezoning area is shaded here, again on the south side of Northern Boulevard. It's typical of block fronts on both sides of Northern Boulevard, mostly commercial uses with local retail, and then that low-density residential context is off the corridor on the mid-blocks. The site itself is on the corner of Northern and 158th Street. The adjacent property that's included in the rezoning area along Northern Boulevard, wrapping 159th, is the Galaxy Plaza Shopping Center, a multi-level commercial shopping center with, I believe, upwards of 24 small business tenants. The Dar Al Taqwa Islamic Center is located just to the south of the Galaxy Plaza Shopping Center along 159th Street, which is a community facility use. Next slide, please. So in this view, looking at the opposite side of the street, you can see the clear difference between the Northern Boulevard context and the context off the corridor, again, mostly commercial, non-residential use along Northern Boulevard, and then that lower density residential context at the mid-blocks. Along 159th Street block, as I just noted, it's been historically and currently non-residential and faces an entirely non-residential block on the opposite or east side of 159th Street, which is why the zoning district boundary stretches to the south along 159th Street. Next slide, please. Project details are shown here. The proposed R7A medium density contextual zoning district, when mapped with a C24 commercial overlay, facilitates the development of a 10-story mixed-use building. It's to have about 73 total apartments, a portion of which would be permanently affordable under MIH, and that breakdown is shown here. It would also have a cellar parking garage. Although no parking is required, the applicant is looking to provide approximately 26 spaces. That's about 35% of the total number of units and about 47% of the standard units. It would also be an electric building. This project aligns with city housing policy by facilitating development on a wide arterial corridor near transit with MIH. Next slide, please. And the details of the MIH breakdown are shown here. Again, this is MIH option 1, which requires 25% of the residential floor area to be set aside at a weighted average of 60% AMI with 10% at 40% AMI, resulting in 18 units at 40, 60, and 80% AMI, serving a wide range of incomes. I'll note that Community District 7 has the highest rent burden population in Queens, just under 57%. It's the third highest in the city. And that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few questions. Have you engaged with the owners of the 2 non-applicant sites in the rezoning area?
We have had conversations with them, but they are not actively involved in this rezoning effort.
What is the plan for the proposed commercial space?
Undetermined at this point. This is a very active local retail corridor. There are some national businesses, but it's generally local retail. So haven't decided, but we think there'll be a very good market for a local serving retail or service use.
Okay, just a point of information, about a block away, there were some local retailers that recently had to close down because they're, I think it's literally across the street from you. It was a cleaners and a restaurant had to close because the owner was selling the property. So, and they've been, at least the cleaners has been a longstanding part of the community for several years, maybe a consideration.
Thanks for that information. And I'll note that the developers are locally based, so we're happy to take suggestions or create connections with retailers seeking new space.
Okay, and the existing space you mentioned, I believe you mentioned there are businesses in that space. It's commercial now, or they're not?
Sorry, no. It was previously a dialysis center that's been demolished. So the site's currently vacant and cleared for development.
Gotcha. Okay. The community board has expressed concern that the proposed development is out of scale with the surrounding neighborhood. Can you explain why an R7A zoning district is appropriate for this location?
Yeah, absolutely. I will note that Community District 7, although they ultimately recommended disapproval, they did vote about 26% in favor of the project. So it wasn't, a complete opposition. The R7A has historically been mapped along wide commercial corridors throughout Queens and throughout the city, Northern Boulevard in particular. R7A is intended to be mapped on wide streets like Northern Boulevard, and bulk regulations ensure appropriate massings to protect adjacent lower density areas. So we believe that this project aligns with city policy. Also note that allowing higher density development on arterial corridors such as Northern Boulevard, serves city housing policy. But the zoning in place, particularly the R12A to the north of the project, protects low density residential mid blocks. And I'd say that these are complementary policies to both protect low density and allow appropriate growth where appropriate, such as on Northern Boulevard.
Currently on Northern Boulevard, are there any R7A buildings within a 2 to 3 block radius, either east or west?
Within a 2 to 3 block radius, no. This area was zoned R5B in 2005, so just over 20 years ago, and has really remained very low density. Just to the west, about 9 blocks away. There is R6A, and then about 9 blocks away, the city council approved an R7X, which allows a 14-story building at a 6 FAR, so a bit higher than the proposed R7A here. There's also R71 and R6 mapped a little bit farther beyond that R7X, which allow 12-ish story developments. So the context is not there currently with respect to the R7A, but we believe that the rationale for the R7A is certainly met at this transit-oriented site.
What is it, and apologies if I missed it, the intended height of this building?
The intended height of this building is only 10 stories. However, the R7A envelope would allow a 11-story building by virtue of the site being a corner lot. We can build a lower, more efficient building in considerations of some of the concerns relating to height.
How many parking spaces will there be?
26.
And the proposed rezoning area is L-shaped, including 2 lots on Northern Boulevard and a 3rd lot occupied by the Islamic Center on 159th Street. Unlike Northern Boulevard, 159th Street is a narrow street that terminates at the LIRR right-of-way 1 block south. Can you explain the planning rationale for including this 3rd site within the rezoning area?
Absolutely. Really, the thinking was that again, this eastern portion of the block and then the western side of 159th Street has historically been non-residential. That Galaxy Plaza Shopping Center wraps a significant portion of the block, and then the Islamic Center, I think, that site has historically been a house of worship. It's immediately to the south, the two feeder roads and the Long Island Railroad effectively create a wide street condition similar to the Northern Boulevard on the north. And that side of the block also faces an entirely commercial and community facility block across 159th Street. So the thinking here was that the wrapping the zoning, including the commercial overlay, would make the Galaxy Plaza Shopping Center entirely conforming in terms of allowing the commercial use to continue and be conforming with zoning. And if the Galaxy Plaza Shopping Center or the Islamic Center were redeveloped, they would be consistent with the rationale for the project that we're here seeking the rezoning for.
Those are all my questions. This panel is excused.
Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this proposal?
Yes, Chair. So we have 4 people who signed up in person and then 1 person online, and we will start with the in-person testimony.
At this time, I now call. Okay. For members of the public here to testify, please note that witnesses will generally be called in panels of 2 to 3 people. If you are a member of the public signed up to testify, please stand by when you hear your name being called and prepare to speak when I indicate that you may begin. Please also note that once all panelists in your group have completed their testimony, if remotely, you will be removed from the meeting as a group, and the next group of speakers will be introduced. Once removed, participants may continue to view the live stream broadcast of this hearing on the council website. Members of the public will be given 2 minutes to speak. Please do not begin until the Sergeant at Arms has started the clock. The following individuals who signed up to testify should now come to the witness table: Kevin Morris and Maria Becca. Kevin, you may begin.
Members of the council, the site under review, 158th Street and Northern Boulevard, is a major intersection of Northeast Queens. The geography and the Port Washington branch of the Long Island Railroad were instrumental in making this intersection as busy as it has become, because that railroad right-of-way blocks typical north-south traffic on the Queen Street grid. This happened because the railroad tracks are sunk below grade at the Murray Hill Station, just 10 blocks west of 158th. The tracks rise to grade level at 155th Street, and east-west concrete walls block north-south streets. At 158, the tracks are carried on a trestle over the street, providing the passage along this route. East of 158, the tracks again are at grade, and the concrete wall resumes to another trestle. This makes a funnel of traffic into 158th Street on the north side and the south side. The DOT found that this was so critical that it barred parking from Sanford Avenue to Northern Boulevard. As you know, the COVID crisis made people register cars in great extended numbers, and there's more cars on the streets now. People who buy property in this development will bring their cars with them. What had been a small shopping area became a destination because there are now at least three dining and drinking establishments between 157 and 158 on the south side of Northern Boulevard, right across from St. Andrew's Church. There's a school between 158 and 157, just north of this project, there's a mosque, as was indicated, 1 block south. These community features will attract traffic for the foreseeable future. The surrounding streets are choked with cars, and permitting a building would just exacerbate the problems. We say, if you want to develop, go to Flushing Airport.
Thank you for your testimony. Maria, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Maria Becci. I'm a homeowner. I have been a homeowner in the North Flushing neighborhood of Broadway, Flushing for more than 4 decades. I stand here opposed to the rezoning application by Northern 158th Street LLC. My opposition is neither a zoning or market value issue. It is about preserving a lifestyle choice in New York City. I am asking for the support of Councilmember Sandra Ung. Please consider the following. The application is completely out of character and not aligned with the area. The application was voted down by Queens Community Board 7. City of Yes asked for a little more housing. Community Board 7 has clearly demonstrated that it has exceeded its obligation. Some background. In 1906, the Rickett Finley Realty Company subdivided vast tracts of Northeast Queens, transforming farmland into a planned garden suburb modeled after the Forest Hills Gardens, with an emphasis on uniform beauty, open space, and architectural order. To preserve this character permanently, restrictive covenants were embedded directly into the body of every deed. The restriction is perpetual. In 1964, the Broadway Flushing Homeowners Association was incorporated with the purpose of protecting both the zoning resolution of 1961 and the covenant. Our association is highly respected for working with all city agencies. Broadway Flushing stands as one of Queens' enduring masterpieces of planned residential design. It is a desirable multicultural enclave for families seeking convenience and serenity. I respectfully request that the Land Use Committee consider all these factors, restore balance and harmony to the community, and please vote no on this rezoning. Doing so would overlook the enforceable deed restrictions.
Please wrap up.
Ignore historical significance and legal precedent. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. This applicant panel is excused. I will now call the next 2 applicants up, Cindy Huang and Ming Wang. Cindy, you may begin.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy. When I first came to the States 16 years ago, I would never believe in a world where you are paying $3,000 up a month for a 3-bedroom in Flushing area would be considered normal. Today, the rent is totally out of reach, while many people's income has been impacted, especially after the pandemic. I can speak for my job, where a lot of jobs has been outsourced to another country or impacted by the AI. So for us, many of us needs to take the pay cut in order to find another job. Also, I do have friends still live in the basement. Not many people talk about this, but it does exist. This says the housing crisis in Flushing area. Flushing changed. It's not like a decade ago. So my parents live by the Casino Boulevard in Flushing, by the Sanford Avenue, which is like 15 minutes walk from this new project. So I would like to stay in this community to take care of them as they're getting older. I don't want to leave. I'm also concerned about my next generation. How about my children? How can a young person or new graduate starting out a normal salary to afford to be able to buy a house. The Flushing one-family, two-family house easily reach over 1 million, like close to 2 millions. So when they grow up, I want them to be able to afford to live in this Chinese American community where they were raised. So I personally thinking that we need more housing options besides one family of two families. I strongly urge you to support this housing project with affordable rental issue.
Please wrap up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ming?
Yes, hello. My name is Ming Wang. I've been living in Flushing area for about 10 years. I have 2 kids, and my family are currently renting. Over the years, I see rent in our area continue to grow up, and it's becoming harder and harder for regular working families to afford to stay in the neighborhood. I fully support this housing project at 158th Street and Northern Boulevard. I believe we need more affordable housing project like this in our community. A 10-story building can provide many more families with a chance to find a home they can actually afford. As a member of this community, I see how high rent is affecting middle-class families, especially many Asian families in Flushing. People work hard, raise their children here, support local businesses, and want to stay in the community. But housing costs are making that more difficult every year. I hope this project can be approved as soon as possible. We need more affordable housing for working and middle-class families. And I believe this project will be a positive step towards our community. Thank you for listening to the people who live here and considering our family and our future. Thank you.
Thank you. This applicant panel is now excused. We do have one person wishing to testify online. Is Michelle Farone? Michelle Farone?
Yes, that's me. Thank you.
Okay, you can now begin.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I just want to thank the panel and everybody for the opportunity once again to just give a point of view. I totally support the Broadway Flushing Homeowners Association. It is there for a reason. It has been in place for a significant amount of years. A pretty astute, smart, hardworking people of this community. I think we are all of the mind that we understand change. Change is always welcome. Change usually brings productivity, it brings jobs, and we all welcome that. My only comment will be to see if we could arrive at something that is mutually beneficial for the community on both sides, for housing and also the homeowners that have worked hard to maintain their property. So I just ask the council to please consider that. I think that if we can keep something more in the aesthetic of the neighborhood and not something that is completely out of character, I think it would be a welcomed opportunity for both sides. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Where's 1 minute, please? If there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this proposal remotely, please press the raise hand function. Raise hand button now, or if you are in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeants. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding pre-considered LUs relating to 158-06 Northern Boulevard, residential mixed-use rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. Standing by for 1 minute. We are back. I will now open the fourth hearing on preconsidered LUs regarding 132 Melrose Street, a residential rezoning proposal in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in Councilmember Gutierrez district. The applicant is seeking to develop a mixed-use residential building that would have approximately 18 apartments. Mandatory inclusionary housing would be mapped as part of this application, which would require that up to 5 of the apartments be permanently affordable, depending on the affordability option selected. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeant-at-arms to submit a speaker card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.gov. I will now turn it over to Councilmember Gutierrez, who has joined us online for remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you. Thank you to the applicants that are here today. I just want to express that I've met with the applicants at least twice across the span of a few years. They've also met with the Community Board 4 in Bushwick. This is a smaller proposal. It was the site of a former manufacturing business. I think as a whole, the property owners have been really good partners with wanting to respond to the community's interest in maintaining manufacturing, and we'll hear a little bit from them in their plan, in their proposal. They're right at the heart of Northwest Bushwick, which a little over 13 years ago experienced a massive M2R rezoning in the area that is, locally called as just the Rangold area. So this is a business that I think has tried to maintain its jobs and stores open, and so is now looking to really meet the needs of the community as well as respond to the interest in wanting to maintain manufacturing. So we'll hear from them today. My questions have been sent to the land use staff, and I encourage anyone who is here from the community to testify to ask questions about affordability, about room composition, about their MIH option, and kind of the future that they see for themselves as property owners in the district. A concern that I did raise was ensuring that the remaining residential buildings that are on the block are not the victim of speculation that will force any displacement. So that is something that we're going to continue to work with these property owners and the city on. And that's all. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Ron Mandel and Frank Noriega.
Good morning. Could you please raise your right hand and restate your name for the record?
Ron Mandel.
Frank Noriega.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony this morning in response to council member questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may now begin your testimony, which is limited to 10 minutes, and you should start to conclude your presentation after 8 minutes. When you begin your presentation, please restate your name and organization.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon. Ron Mandel of Belkin, Burden, Goldman, on behalf of the applicant, joined by my colleague,
Frank Noriega.
Thank you so much for having us. First, thank you so much to Councilmember Gutierrez and her staff, as well as Brooklyn Community Board 4. They've been tremendous partners in helping to shape this project into what we believe is a really is a benefit to the community. We look forward to the ongoing dialogue with the councilperson, her staff, and the community board as we move forward with the project. Next slide, please. As noted on the slide, the project area is comprised of 3 tax lots, which are owned by our client, 2 families that not only own the site, but also have been active members of the business community in this neighborhood for at least 17 years. The rezoning area is comprised of actually 5 tax lots. 3 of the tax lots are proposed to be developed. The 2 other tax lots are not proposed to be developed. They're occupied by 2 non-conforming residential uses. 2 3-story multifamily buildings, that is. The rezoning area measures about 11,300 square feet And as I mentioned, 3 of the 5 tax lots are proposed to be redeveloped. Those 3 tax lots measure about 20 feet in width each, totaling a lot area of about 6,300 square feet. The current zoning is M11. Next slide, please. As I previously mentioned, the proposed rezoning area is comprised of 5 tax lots. In addition to the rezoning from M11 to a proposed M1, from M11 to an M1-2A/R6A, which is an MX district, we're also proposing a zoning text amendment to map all 5 tax lots as within the MIH area. I mentioned before that 3 of the tax lots are owned by the 2 families, the applicant team. Of those 3, 1 lot is occupied by a 2-story building, which serves as warehouse space and office above, and the other 2 tax lots are used for parking and loading. Next slide, please. The lots are conveniently located within walking distance to mass transit, the J and Z lines, as well as New York City bus routes. Next. The purpose of the aerial map depicted on the screen is to demonstrate this unique M11 pocket in this Bushwick neighborhood. The site, which is outlined in orange, is on the south side of Melrose Street, right across from the Denizen building, which we'll talk about in another few minutes. As you can see from the aerial map, much of the block already is occupied by residential uses. The surrounding uses range from 8 to 9-story mixed-use residential buildings directly across from Melrose Street. That's the Denizen building, which was the result of the Rheingold rezoning. And other 2 to 5-story warehouse and commercial buildings, as well as 2 to 5-story residential buildings at the mid-block. Next. Touching upon the council member's comment before about the building across the street, that's the building located on the left in the photograph on the screen, referred to as the Denizen building. It's a 9-story residential building, which substantially changed the composition and character of this portion of Melrose Street. The building was constructed in 2019, and since then has been proven to be a very difficult challenge for our client to operate their business across the street. It's the Melrose Street itself measures about 50 feet in width. Once you subtract the sidewalks and parking on both sides of the street, there's only 11 feet of width located on that street. As you can imagine, it's extremely difficult to not only back a trailer in, which they used to be able to do years ago, but also even to park a truck along the street to unload goods for both goods coming in and goods coming out. In addition to that, it's compounded by substantial traffic, which was expressed by the community board along this portion of Melrose, as well as substantial pedestrian traffic, which again makes it unsafe now to have these trucks parked on the street. The client, who's been in the neighborhood now for 17 years operating their business, has located with their 24 employees, which are substantially from the surrounding neighborhood, to a warehouse building around the corner at 6 Stanwicks. They're really excited about that space. It's actually appropriately configured to allow for loading, unloading, parking, storage alongside the loading berth, as well as a freight elevator in that building. Just quickly, next slide, please. We thought this was interesting. The 5 lots actually were occupied at one point by residential uses. These are images from the 1940s of those multifamily residential buildings. On the right side are the 2 non-conforming residential buildings, which still exist today. Next. By the 70s, those 3 buildings were demolished. And these are images from the 1980s tax map. Since then, 2 of the 3 lots that are controlled by the 2 families that own the applicant site have remained undeveloped. Next. Some photos of the project site. Upper left is an image of the site. The 2 lots are used for parking and loading, the 2-story building. To the right, another image of the 2 adjacent non-conforming residential uses. On the bottom left is an image of Evergreen Street to the west, occupied by a 6-story office building. Next slide, please.
And just to reiterate, so what we're trying to do here is rezone from the M11 district that has been mapped there since 1961. And as Ron pointed out in the prior slides, this really hasn't been a manufacturing area. It was actually predominantly residential until it was demolished, and now it's mostly vacant sites. We proposed specifically the MX district after consulting with a council member. Originally, we were looking at a potential commercial district because, as was mentioned before, it's really difficult to get trucks down on this site now. But after discussing this with the council member and the input from the community board, it is desirable to maintain some sort of industrial uses here. And as I see we're running out of time, I'm just going to touch briefly on the next slide, please. There's been a couple of different reviews of this area and have noted similarly that they want to maintain industrial uses in this area, but they also note that there has been a longstanding non-conforming residential uses here that need to be addressed, but there's also a need for affordable housing. So our goal is to balance all of these issues together and propose a development that meets all of the needs. Go to the next slide, please. Actually, we'll skip over this one and just kind of touch on what ends up here. Our proposed development site will end up being a 3.9 FAR building, which is effectively just under 25,000 square feet, predominantly residential, 18,000 square feet. And specifically, we're looking to have some sort of light manufacturing of some sort on the ground floor level. Next slide, please. After discussing this with both the community board as well as groups like the Evergreen Exchange, we found that there is a need or a desire for some sort of small space. As shown here, we have divided this 6,000 square foot ground floor into two smaller spaces to allow for potential light manufacturing. And when we talk light manufacturing, we're talking maker spaces, maybe small furniture stores or furniture making stores, coffee roasters or something. And we're looking to incorporate that into the ground floor after community feedback. And next slide, please. Another issue that's been come up, both at the community board as well as the council member, is the idea of efficiency in the buildings. And under the new codes, as a new development, we're going to be required to do more efficient buildings, and we're proposing green roofs as well as all the new appliances in these buildings will be electric. So the sustainability fix here is going to be much more ideal than what would be for a normal manufacturing building that would currently be allowed on site. And I think there we'll go to the next slide and just stop and take some questions.
Okay. Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. So this application includes only a few lots in an M1 block that has existing residential uses and vacant lots. Why was the zoning lot restricted to only 5 lots?
The rationale for that was that the project site is the 3 tax lots, and we incorporated the 2 adjacent lots, which are occupied residential uses, to bring them into conformance. After working with the council person and city planning, we thought it was appropriate to only rezone the 5 tax lots, so that there's so as potentially the lot did get redeveloped, there'd be a better understanding as to what the proposed uses would be on the block. The idea behind the MX was that it would set basically, it would be, how can I explain it? The MX district then, the idea behind it was that in the future, if adjacent owners wanted to rezone their property, and if the lot itself was wide enough to accommodate manufacturing use, then that MX could be dragged further west.
And to add to that, it's particularly closer to Evergreen Street. The studies such as the Bushwick plan had looked at that site and along Evergreen, and is also seen in the Rheingold development that there might be a potential for a higher density residential along Evergreen. So the discussion there should be set for a different, it would be a potentially higher, like an R7A district, which is not what we're proposing here. We're doing a lower density on the side street of an R6A, which would be a smaller building.
And what are the current industrial uses on the site, and will they be offered space in the new building?
The families that own the property and also operate the business conduct electric part distribution. They already have located to a more appropriate facility around the block with their 24 employees.
Okay, so they won't come back to...
Correct.
They'll just use it, okay. And I do have a couple of questions from Councilmember Gutierrez.
Sure.
Excuse me. When a mixed-use district is proposed in place of a manufacturing district, it is important that we retain industrial use while introducing residential, as it helps retain jobs that have been an integral part of this community. I appreciate your current plans include light industrial on the ground floor. What will be your process to secure a light industrial tenant?
So in our process, I mean, we've been marketing this with brokers and whatnot to see if there are some sort of light manufacturing. We have been getting some responses for that, but particularly with the discussions with the Evergreen Exchange, there has been a strong desire for a space like this, but they need space now. So it's similar to what I think other projects have said. We haven't tenanted a space or a specific tenant yet, but we anticipate that it will be. But the big discussion, which we tend to commit to, is that with the Evergreen Exchange and these industrial uses, the most important thing is that the space is actually designed for industrial use. Because even if we do go forward, if they don't have the height on the ground floor, they need higher floor to ceiling heights generally for industrial uses, and the live loads of the floor to support any machinery that may need to come in. We're committing to our committee to design it in such a way that those industrial uses can come in, and we anticipate that they will be made available to them, and we anticipate that the tenants are ready and willing to move in.
Okay. Any promising? I know you said you've been discussing, but anything promising?
Yeah, we are excited to
date?
share that. We were surprised. Our ownership was actually surprised to hear that so early in the process, a number of potential uses were identified. Again, it's still too early, but taking into account the information they received from these prospective tenants, to Frank's point, the building has been designed with a higher floor to ceiling height on the ground floor, with more power coming into the building as well, so that these light manufacturing uses, once they're in, could actually thrive in the space.
Can you confirm that studios will not be included in this building?
Yes, confirming.
Okay. How will you market the MIH units? And can you commit to working with a local organization to market these units?
We're open to it. We haven't started speaking to marketing agents yet, but to the extent that there's someone with who could be helpful and is in a local, with a local organization, by all means, it can only make for a better project.
Okay. And do you have any plans for solar panels or use of green energy?
Not solar panels, but there are energy efficient systems being proposed in the building, which were illustrated on the slides.
And which are they? Can you confirm the electric systems you will use? Heat pumps, one of them?
I believe heat pumps are required as part of the electrical appliances, but there are special green roof being proposed to absorb stormwater, energy efficient lighting throughout the building, electric appliances, and low flow plumbing fixtures.
Okay. All right, this panel is excused. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding this proposal?
No, Chair, we don't have anyone signed up in person or online at this time.
Okay.
Thank you again.
No problem. Thank you. If there are any members of the public who wish to testify regarding this proposal remotely, please press the raise hand button now, or if you are in person, please identify yourself to one of the sergeants. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding preconsidered LUs relating to 132 Melrose Street residential mixed-use rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use and other council staff, and the Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned.